Hey yo, I keep getting asked the same questions. Do you bite? Invite me in and find out.
Laws, tradition, violence. That's all this system is. As the discussion broadens on what police actually do and do not do, since we're talking about it, we should really talk about it at like the bedrock level, right? Somebody passes a law, and then they have goons who will show up and take you if you don't follow the law. Now, did you get to choose this law? Probably not. Do you get to decide what laws are just and which ones are not and repeal the ones that we don't think are just? No, no, we don't. Do we get a say in basically any part of this process with the exception of elections, which are questionable? How did slavery and white supremacy happen? Laws and violence. How did the genocidal march across this country of the European settlers on Turtle Island happen? Laws and violence, right? The OG gentrification was basically them saying, hey, there's this unclaimed land out there, right? And we passed a law that says if you bring us back literally the head of someone, well, not the whole head, just the scalp, as if that's fucking better, right? Like, if you bring us one of those, we'll give you money. It's the law. Now, I'm definitely not suggesting anything illegal, but we really should think more about the laws, why we follow them, and what happens if we don't, and if we are okay with that setup.
Well, Logan, it's Pisces season, it's eclipse season, we're in a new Saturn-Neptune cycle, and now we're entering Mercury retrograde to boot. Oh, folks, this is a messy, transformational time. We're like that caterpillar that's gone into the chrysalis and turned into absolute goop as we're preparing to emerge as the beautiful butterfly. Okay, so let's get into the goop and start off looking at the astrology for today, Monday, February 23rd. The moon just recently moved into the curious, quick, communicative sign of Gemini. Tomorrow, Tuesday the 24th, we actually have no transits to report, but then on Wednesday, February 25th, things are happening. First, the moon will enter its home sign of Cancer, the caring, nurturing crab. And then late on Wednesday evening or early Thursday morning, if you're on Central Time or farther east, Mercury will station retrograde at 22 degrees of Pisces. Mercury is going to be retrograde for the whole rest of Pisces season up until March 20th, which is also the spring equinox and the start of Aries season. And Mercury is going to travel all the way back to 8 degrees of Pisces, making similar aspects to planets that it's made recently on its journey through the sign of the fishes. But it'll stay in Pisces for this whole entire retrograde, for better or for worse. What we can say for sure is that Mercury, which is the part of you that perceives, thinks, learns, and communicates, will not be functioning in its usual way for the next few weeks. Because not only is it moving backwards in the sky, it's also in Pisces, which is the sign of its fall and its exile. It's not a bad, but a foreign, unusual environment for this mental planet to be operating in. Mercury is generally a left-brained kind of vibe. It's oriented towards language and logic, but now we're opening our minds up to other dimensions. And I know that the whole left-brained, right-brained thing is a big oversimplification, but I think it's just a helpful way to wrap our minds around the idea of Mercury in Pisces, especially during a retrograde. Now we're diving into and reflecting on intuition, spiritual connection, creative visions. We're slowing and quieting down enough to receive messages, omens, and downloads from the cosmos. We're experiencing the boundless way that we're all interconnected and part of this one vast universal consciousness, and the empathy and compassion that we access as a result. With Pisces, there can be a certain vibe of fatigue, which could be heightened by this retrograde, because even though Saturn and Neptune have now moved out of Pisces and into Aries, we still have the Sun, the North Node, and Venus in the sign of the fishes, along with Mercury here. So honestly, you might need more sleep over the next few weeks. I mean, Pisces is the sign of dreams after all, right? In general, retrogrades are times to rest and recover, to regenerate and reflect and revise. They're chances to slow down and course correct so that we don't accidentally go too far in the wrong direction that we don't want to be going in. Retrogrades are important opportunities for integration of all of the experiences of our busy lives, all of the things that we learn but might not remember or implement. So this is a reminder to take stock of the information, resources, and tools that you already have at your disposal before you just go off chasing new ones. This is why I think that retrogrades are inherently anti-capitalist, or at least they can be. Because capitalism doesn't want us to rest and reflect, right? It just wants us to labor and produce, to consume endlessly and unsustainably and unnecessarily. So slowing down and simplifying can be a very revolutionary act. Of course, this doesn't mean that we should just fully kick back and rest on our laurels while the world is burning and people are suffering. Remember to beware that Piscean pitfall of escapism, avoidance, numbing out, and checking out, which is exactly what capitalism wants you to do. This is the first Pisces season and the first Mercury retrograde in Pisces when Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, has moved on into the sign of Aries. So ultimately, we are being called towards courage and action. This retrograde is just a reminder that living a life and making a revolution is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a one-time event that ends quickly. So we need to figure out how to sustain and fuel ourselves for the long haul here. If you get tired or depleted, rest, don't quit. And that rest and recovery is a skill to practice unto itself. With Neptune still very much conjunct Saturn right now, we need to think carefully about setting and maintaining boundaries and setting ourselves up to be sustainable. This is a chance for reality testing. We're about to find out what leaks are in our boat as we're sailing on this Piscean ocean, okay? This can be a great time for prepping, for example. Other than that, all of the usual caveats of a Mercury retrograde apply here. Give yourself more buffer time in your schedule than usual. Expect logistical snafus around things like technology and travel. Double and triple check. Dot your I's, cross your T's. Be mindful of where you're getting your information from and how you're perceiving things. Take your time with major decisions and communicate carefully. Especially with a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, it's much more likely that any message you try to deliver will not be received as you intended, as things are getting distorted in these muddy, murky waters here. So it's not business as usual right now, but I think that can be a good thing, especially if we take advantage of the creative, intuitive, spiritual dimensions of this Pisces retrograde and of this chance to further decondition our minds from the overculture. All right, then the skies will be pretty quiet on Thursday the 26th as we're settling into this Mercury retrograde here. And then Friday, February 27th brings us the last two notable aspects of the week, one quite challenging and one more chill. First of all, Mars will be sitting at 27 degrees of Aquarius, forming a square to Uranus at 27 degrees of Taurus on the 27th. How appropriate. So how does it sound to have the planet of rage and conflict at crossed purposes with the planet of sudden, shocking transformation? Pretty wild, challenging, potentially dysregulating? I thought so. This transit is not known to be a relaxing one, that's for sure. And with these two planets in stubborn fixed signs, the friction of that square aspect could be even tougher to digest. Oof. But a square is just really a negotiation. It's a call for some kind of change and adaptation to get on the same page and work together. And with Mars currently in Uranus's home sign of Aquarius, there are some common goals here between these two. In different ways, Mars and Uranus are both planets concerned with freedom and authenticity. So this is liberatory energy, potentially, if we choose to use it that way. With Mars square Uranus, sudden flashes of insight might come to you while you're in the middle of an argument, or maybe while you're physically moving or really connecting and engaging with your body. Mars can lend courage to the innovative, authentic, revolutionary ideas of Uranus. And this transit might have us considering our own roles and places as individuals within larger communities and movements. Anytime we have a Taurus Aquarius square, we're always negotiating between what needs to change and what can stay the same. Some of the pitfalls you want to watch out for here are checking out and dissociating, or being really headstrong and digging your heels in way more than is helpful, or just becoming really agitated and impulsive, stirring the pot, being contrary for no good reason, or even getting into accidents. So Friday is a day to try to slow down. Breathe, think things through, which is also part of settling into that Mercury retrograde, right? But tough transits like this aren't something to worry about as much as they're really just a heads up to pay attention and be extra aware of what's happening around us, especially with the unexpected energy of Aquarius and Uranus. So Friday morning is probably the most challenging moment of this whole week, to be real with you all. But late that evening or the very beginning of Saturday, if you're on the East Coast, we'll have a nicer or at least a more neutral transit when Mercury, now retrograde, will be conjunct Venus at 22 degrees of Pisces. Our minds, which are now more reflective and sort of right-brained with this Pisces retrograde, will now turn towards Venusian relational topics. So you might be reflecting on your values, on your relationships, on your finances, on your creative projects, on balance in your own life or equality and justice in our society and in the world. This is a lovely opportunity for connecting and communicating with people. The caveats of Mercury retrograde still apply, of course, but this transit can be a nice chance to get through to people perhaps in more unconventional ways. Maybe you're sharing art or creative expression or connecting on an energetic or spiritual level with consent, of course. Try playing with writing or verbal expression, applying Venusian creativity to Mercury's domain of language. And this is a good chance to work on that balance of talking and listening. Stay curious. See what new things you can learn about the people you think you already know really well. Under this transit, we can build closer bonds with our neighbors, friends, siblings, community members, those platonic mercurial relationships. But remember that with comfort-seeking Venus and dreamy, sometimes delusional Pisces, just remember to prioritize honesty and staying as relatively grounded as you can here. But this is a great time for giving each other compassionate mutual support. Gotta love it. Early the next morning, Saturday the 28th, the moon moves into vibrant, expressive Leo, so keep those creative vibes rolling. And then Sunday, March 1st, there are no transits to report, but I do want to give you all a quick heads up / reminder that Tuesday, March 3rd will feature a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. So get ready for some big feels and tumultuous times on that day. But you'll have to come back next week to hear all about it, because that's it for this week's astrological weather report. I'm Alice Pope. Logan, back to you.
Okay, let's see what they got. Who, what, when? My ex will take me out for. I rebuke this demon energy. I rebuke thee. The more time that goes by, the more I think the Christian notion of forgiveness is the most problematic part of the whole thing. And let me explain why. In this nightmarish Calvinist version of the religion that we have in this country and that has kind of permeated the world, everyone's a sinner, right? All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, like all that sort of thing. But the problem is that with that comes their ability to request forgiveness, not from the people they've wronged, but from someone else. Like, think about it, right? You can just do anything and then go be forgiven at your church. You don't have to apologize. You don't have to become a better person. You don't have to take practical steps in the physical world that we all share in order to make whatever it was you did better, right? You can just be redeemed by the blood of Christ. Like, that's always been part of the gig, right? Like, back in the day, you would literally drag some sacrifice to the temple in order to make up for something that you had done, right? Like, that means that your agency has completely been taken away. And that leads to essentially the ability to create some pretty sociopathic people. I bet you got soldiers who have just killed rooms full of people in some foreign country who just go then to their church and then talk about how sorry they feel about it to their priest, and they're forgiven. Maybe your deity has to forgive you. I do not.
Breaking news. In an absolutely devastating turn of events, it appears the problem may have been me the entire time. More information on this devastating.
Hello, darlings. It's nice to see you. It's nice to be seen. A little bit of a technical hiccup, but that's what happens when you are doing it live, as we do every week here on the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. But we're going to just keep the wheels rolling and get into our weekly delve into my vinyl collection. This time, I'm going to give you, since it's the last one we'll be doing for Black History Month, I decided to give you not just two, but three this time. One, two, three. Yes, I am, of course, very generous. You know. The first one, Miss Janet Jackson. Now, listen, have you heard this album, Janet Jackson's Control? Because look, we know MJ was amazing, and actually the Jacksons were amazing, of course. But Janet Jackson, in her own right, is a fucking phenomenal artist. I mean, amazing singer, amazing dancer. Just the talent was just pouring off of her. And she was even on the show Good Times, I believe. Anyway, this album, Control, here's the back of it as well. It's got some of the most iconic fucking songs on it. Control, obviously, Nasty, What Have You Done For Me Lately? Dun, 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 dun. I mean, amazing. You Can Be Mine, The Pleasure Principle, When I Think of You. Basically, every single song on this album is an absolute fucking banger. And I want to say, while we're talking about it, I'm going to talk about this later, but we do not protect Black people in this society. And that is why race and anti-Blackness matters, but also misogyny and its intersections. Because the Black woman, the Black femme, the Black trans woman are the least protected people in this world, especially when it comes to the Western world, especially when it comes to America as its primary hegemon, right? But the example that I want to give is what happened to her and Justin Timberlake, right? The wardrobe malfunction that happened. Look, there was speculation that it was not an accident, that it was an accident. Who cares? But who paid the price for it? Miss Janet Jackson, right? Justin Timberlake, career just continued. He just kept on being the same goofy white dude, getting way too many passes for trying to act like and appropriate Black culture because he could move his hips a little, right? Like he went on and it's fine. When have you heard about Janet Jackson? When have you heard about Janet Jackson since that? Not much. And that's because, why? Black people, Black women, especially Black trans women to the front, are the least protected in our society. All these intersections matter, and you can't do the whole class reduction thing because why? I say this all the time, because class, the mechanisms of class are identity. If we use identity, well, not we, but the vulture class uses identity in order to do the class war. They use different markers of identity to different people, and us ignoring people that don't have our identity is how they do it. Why does Janet Jackson not get her fucking flowers for being the phenom that she is? Who can look? Also, not for nothing, if she showed a nipple, really, America, really, again, this is why sex positivity is one of the 12 values that we believe in on this show and in our group, right? Because sex positivity reminds us that people are sexual beings and are allowed to be, and it's not weird. There's nothing weird about it, okay? There's nothing weird about it. And nudity, the reason that we think that nudity is more wrong than genocide, think about that. Think about that, right? Just think about it. Please do yourself a favor and listen to Janet Jackson's Control, start to finish. It is such great. You will be dancing. Listen, clear out some space in your house because I'm just warning you. You're gonna shake your ass. I'm sorry to inform you.
whatever you got. You look, whatever. If you got a badonkadonk, if you got pancake, whatever you got, it's gonna shake. Okay, so get into it. Next. Oh, you know we had to go with Miss Aretha, and we're gonna go with Lady Soul by Miss Aretha Franklin. Okay, on this album, Chain of Fools, Money Won't Change You, People Get Ready, There's a Train a Coming, You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman, which was actually I believe that was written by Carole King. But and we'll talk about Carole King. I'm gonna actually do Carole King's Tapestry in another one because Carole King was a really great musician. Anyway, but that song now belongs to Aretha. It's one of those things where like Bob Dylan wrote All Along the Watchtower, but the second Jimi Hendrix got a hold of it, it was a wrap. Like that's Jimmy's song now, right? And I'm sure Bob Dylan said as much himself. But anyway, Miss Aretha Franklin, I mean, broke barriers, just the kind of powerful, soulful voice. And one of the things, it actually says a really interesting thing about her. This is from 1967, I believe. 1968. But on the back of this, it's got a little bit of a piece from Rolling Stone on Aretha Franklin. And it says something interesting that I want to share with you. It says, one of Aretha's most brilliant accomplishments is her success in combining elements of both country and city blues. Rural country blues are usually raw, primitive, direct, primitive. I don't like that word. Anyway, primitive, direct, and overwhelmingly personal. Urban city blues are more polished, professional, and subtle. Aretha's blues are all of these. In her own highly individual way, she has combined all the emotions of both types of blues and created a new thing, which is blues all her own. She takes you to church basically without ever having to step foot into a church. She has the kind of undeniable power and just, she just grips you with the way that she sings, and she deserves everything that has been said about her. She deserves. Also, look into the ways that she has showed up for people, for Black folks. She's not only on the stage but off the stage also a fantastic human being who really deserves, again, give Black women their flowers. Miss Aretha Franklin, Lady Soul, another album you can listen start to finish, end to end, and you will love every single one. Chain, chain, chain. And last, but absolutely, by no means at all least, Promise by Miss Sade. Now, I don't have to tell you, if you've ever heard a Sade song, you know the kind of voice I'm talking about. The kind of voice that is just dripping with sensuality, and not just in a sexual way, but in a way that just makes you want to just dive into it. And the way that she sings is so, I mean, listen, obviously, if you're trying to get down, put on some Sade, it is what it is. I'm not saying nothing, I'm just saying, but also just, again, really gripping, but in a totally different way. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to highlight these three different women, is because they are each so singular, right? There's very little overlap. You're talking about like three of the greatest artists, femme artists ever, and they are so different, right? Despite all being Black women, their experiences, everything about them is different. Everything about them as artists is different, and that is just an example of how all the stuff about people being the same based on what they look like or their group, it's just nonsense. Even within technically the same genre, because you might call all of these women soul or R&B at sometimes or whatever, but they're all so different. Like Sade, here's the back of this one as well. Just simple with the names of the songs on it. It starts off with "Is It a Crime?" And if you haven't heard this song, please go ahead. One of the lyrics, "My love is wider than Victoria Lake and taller than the Empire State. It dives and it jumps. I can't give you more than that. Surely you want me back." It's like whoever it was that she was singing it to, came back. Okay. I mean, I don't know why they left. Like, how could you leave in the first place, right? The Sweetest Taboo, uh, delicious song. All the songs, War of the Hearts, Jezebel, Miss Wrong, all of these, and Never As Good As the First Time, which is not true in real life, but the song, the song is amazing. The song is amazing. She is another one of those artists who there have been like a lot of really interesting covers of Sade songs too, by male artists and by different people that have managed to keep some of the same vibe without losing. And of course, she's induplicable, right? Just everything about her, even just the way that she carries herself and the way she speaks, and the way that she sings and the way that she just looks and carries herself are so similar. It's not one of those things where there's some people where when they sing, you're like, where did that come from? Or when they perform, you're like, where did that come from? Like, no, Sade gives Sade. Sade gives Sade, whether she's singing or anything else. So that is your third album for the week. And listen, you don't need a Black History Month to celebrate Black people, Black women, Black femmes, Black people of all types. Okay. And not only to celebrate them, because celebrating them, we can do sometimes, right? We have a Black History Month, sure. We don't protect Black people, right? You don't protect Black people. You don't protect them at the dinner tables when people are saying racist shit. You don't protect them legislatively when you let people, walk all over our rights, right? You don't when you let us continue to be thrown into jails and prisons, and when you protect the people that have the least protection, that helps everyone else. Okay, so even if it is just for selfish reasons, protect the people with the least, because that is what makes sure that everyone is going to be okay, right? Looking out for your own rights is the way that you lose everybody's rights, including your own, right? So get into it, babes. Check out all 3 of these albums. And now, without further ado, we are going to go into our next segment. Mistrix, do it up.
In the study and practice of emergent strategy, there are core principles that have emerged and that guide me in learning and using this idea and method in the world. I gather them here in the expectation that they will grow. Small is good, small is all. The large is a reflection of the small. Change is constant. Be like water. You must be shapeless, formless, like water. When you pour water in a cup, it becomes the cup. When you pour water in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. When you pour water in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can drip, and it can crash. Become like water, my friend. There is always enough time for the right work. There is a conversation in this room right now that only these people at this moment can have. Find it. Never a failure, always a lesson. Trust the people. If you trust the people, they become trustworthy. Move at the speed of trust. Focus on critical connections more than critical mass. Build the resilience by building the relationships. Less prep, more presence. What you pay attention to grows. Wow!
Okay, and we had some wise words from Worm. Wise words from Worm would be what we would call it if we didn't call it what we already called it. Um, and a special feature by the excellent Dick Swagger, reminding us that the state is trying to off us in a lot of ways. And if there is a Latin saying, salus populi suprema lex, which is the health of the populace is the highest law, because without that, we have nothing. Right? We are weaker when we are more ill, right? And we're going to actually talk right now about some intersections of identity, including ableism. But remember, please, like I know we're sick of thinking about it, but it's not going anywhere. And the thing with the reason that that I talk so much about and think so much about and live my life so much around ongoing protection against the virus that shall not be named, is because it really is exemplary of everything else, right? It's a problem that we know is there. It's a thing we know is real. It's a thing we have actually seen in real time. We have watched it hurt, kill, permanently injure people that we know, even ourselves, right? I know so many people who have had it and are like, I've never been sicker in my entire life. And then what? As if they just don't care anymore. And it's because of social pressure, but also it's because we, especially as Americans, people who live on the Death Star, we are made to be weak when it comes to fighting for stuff, when it comes to persistence. We are taught to outsource our power, right? That's why I get so frustrated with voting conversations, right? And I get frustrated with people on both sides of the voting issue, because some people are like, if you vote, you're a patsy. And some people are like, if you don't vote, you don't matter. And you're both fucking goofballs, right? It's just one piece on the board. Because, yeah, the laws do exist. And the machinations of government do exist. So is it worth one day to go and press the little button? Sure. You know, even if it's just throwing a penny in the wishing well, given how completely controlled and fucked up, and the fact that you can't choose more than the people who they give us to choose anyway. We know that's true. But also, the real work is done the other 364 days of every year, and we forget that. That's when the real work is done. The meeting that we had for the House of Infinity last night, I talked about how we think a lot about feats. And we just think like if there's just one thing we can lift, one neck we can choke, one thing we can do, and everything will be fine and we can stop thinking about it. That's never how it is. It is a constant, constant battle. Everything is, right? It's like dishes and laundry. They never stay done. you got to do them whenever they need doing. And the same thing is even more true of political engagement and activism and fighting back against a system that's been in place for at least hundreds, if not kind of thousands of years, if you want to talk about the entire project. Starting with the Roman Empire, arguably, perhaps even before, an edifice which is all collapsing right around us. But I want to talk about something that is a really great intersection that just popped up. And I don't know if you know about this, but during Michael B. Jordan's speech on the BBC at the BAFTAs, I believe it was, someone with Tourette's screamed out the N-word. Now, this person, the person in the audience, has coprolalia, which is a kind of Tourette's which like makes you say curse words and things that are like, deliberately inappropriate for the circumstance and situation, but it's something they cannot control. And this is why intersectionality is so important. There's a Black person who has Tourette's, who is a content creator, who talked about this intersection beautifully in ways that I haven't seen anyone else do, because there have been some people, and these people are clearly completely wrong, who are just like, oh, you shouldn't be offended at all. Like, they can't help it. And it's like, no, you don't have to be mad at them, but like to be offended, yes. In fact, you can't even control it. Like if somebody yells out the N-word at a thing, yeah, I'm going to feel a kind of fucking way. And if you say that I shouldn't, I'm going to look at you sideways for the rest of your natural life, like straight up, right? But also, then some people were being really unkind to the person and saying that like, well, it shouldn't be in their vocabulary, and like people who clearly don't understand what disability looks like and what certain things, what can happen with certain disabilities, like Tourette's. And it's really important that we keep both things in mind. And the other thing is that amidst all of this argument, right, the real tea, okay? The real tea is neither of those things, but the fact that the BBC, okay, they did not edit out. Now, the whole thing's on a delay, so they have time to edit things out. And they did edit something out from that show. They edited out shouts of Free Palestine. They had no problem editing out shouts of Free Palestine. But they didn't edit out the N-word. Edited out Free Palestine, right? Calls to end a genocide that is ongoing. But they did not edit out the single utterance of a word by a person with a disability who did not mean to, right? But a word that carries with it so much pain and hatred and such a dark history. And it's just one word, right? That must be easier to edit out than several words. It's got more syllables, at least, like just pure math, right? And that, when I was talking earlier about protecting Black people, how we don't protect Black people, and that matters, right? Because what are you allowed to see? What are you not allowed to see? What passes? What passes the censors? What doesn't pass the censors? And that's not, I simply beg you to see at this point, at this late date, at this time, at this moment we're currently living in, that it's not an accident, okay? They do that shit on purpose. They know, and they know that it'll start a ruckus, and it will get us arguing amongst ourselves, right? Silence the thing that will get us unified. Push the thing that will keep us arguing, right? Again, the class war is waged with identity, right? Getting white folks who either don't know any better or actively are malicious, right? Who don't understand race or or disability to be like, oh, no big deal, no big deal, whatever, they didn't mean it, you know. I don't know why this person's Italian all of a sudden, even though it's British. But and then everyone else, and again, we're squabbling, right? And no one is attacking the BBC, the powers that be, right? Always. And that's why one of the things I say a lot to people of color is you don't hate white people, you hate whiteness. And that is the truth. Because individual people are just, no one chooses who they are, how they're born, what they do. However, if you're a white person who hears me say that and says, yeah, it's whiteness, not white people, it's not me. No, I'm talking about your ass. I'm talking literally about you. You're not exempt from carrying whiteness because you carry it your whole life, right? You are carrying a weapon, whether or not you intend to use it, whether or not you would ever use it. You carry a weapon with you throughout your entire life that at any single moment, at any time you choose, you could point it and fire it directly at someone who doesn't look like you. And we know that, right? That is a fear that we have to carry when dealing with you, even if we know that you literally never would, right? It's like if you're walking next to a bear, even if that bear is your best friend, and y'all know how I feel about bears and domestication. In fact, I'm going to talk about that briefly after this because it's interesting. But, you know, I'm still not going to start a fist fight with a bear because, hello, that's a silly idea, right? So to drop your guard about it is not going to happen, right? Because, again, where are all the white folks standing up for, you know, I mean, listen, and there are some of you, again, there are some of you, but whiteness itself and organizations like the BBC are the ones that are silencing the voices saying free Palestine and letting through the voices shouting the N-word. And that's how it is. There is no clearer example of how the overculture directs essentially hatred towards us, directs harm towards us, right? Than that one example. On a different, more fun note, something I've been talking about a long time, you know, as you may or may not know, my primary work, you know, job, occupation is dog guru or whatever you want to call it. And I have been talking about and writing about for years. I've been doing it for like, I don't know, 15 years or more at this point. But talking about how everything we know about domestication it's false, right? It's like, you know, white European hegemony trying to claim that humans have dominion over everything when that's not how it happened. Domestication is essentially an accidental process that happens when two species live in proximity and have existences which work together. And for humans, that has been dogs, because dogs are the perfect size. They have abilities that work so well together with ours. The family structure is so similar, and the ability sets we have work so well together. And dogs and humans have been together for, you know, definitely like more than 50,000 years. It's been like everything that's said about dogs being like man's best friend is totally true. However, because of human encroachment into wild places, I have been saying for many years that there are several species in early or even latter stages of domestication. Raccoons, for example, you know, and also this idea about like wild animals. Oh, that's a wild animal. Like you don't, okay, all right, pump the brakes there, kiddo. Okay, like you don't have to be Steve Irwin to realize that like there's animals that want to eat you and animals that are just trying to live. That's basically the only divide that you need to worry about, right? If they're trying to eat you, that's one you should avoid. If they're not trying to eat you, there's actually a chance that they'll be fine with you, or even perhaps friendly under the right circumstances if no one's acting weird. Raccoons and also skunks and deer and also bears are all undergoing different stages of domestication in places where their proximity to humans has been increasing. And I think that's really beautiful. And I don't mention that just as a curiosity, but as a way to underline the fact that don't take me for what I'm not saying. Listen to the words that I'm saying. We are all born indigenous. We are indigenous to the earth. We are earth creatures. We belong to the earth. And it is the overculture which removes us, which others us. And then we other ourselves. We place ourselves above the earth. We place ourselves above every animal, every plant, rather than as ourselves as part of the web, right? And this domestication process reminds us that really, if we act right, if we just act in loving relationship and with kindness and an open-handed way of looking at every being, that that becomes a friendship potentially. That becomes a relationship that can endure and can enrich our lives, and we can enrich each other's lives, right? There's so many ways that if we just thought of ourselves as belonging to the earth, that everything would be better, right? There is, re-indigenizing ourselves by being more knowledgeable about, local flora and fauna, about really thinking about our contribution to the harms that we do to the earth on a day-to-day basis, right? It's the plastic straw thing that I mention all the time. Right? Yes, your plastic straw is not causing climate change, but do you need a plastic straw that's going to be in the garbage for thousands of years? Not really, right? There are certain things which should appall us. Single-use plastic should appall us on a spiritual level. It's just so normalized. And yes, again, we will add in the conversation of ability, whereas some people do need certain kinds of things to support them with their disabilities. But that's okay, right? That's not everyone. And we would be able to accommodate those who need those things if we weren't just so rapacious and all such users of this planet. We could live in harmonious relationship with things. And I believe that part of the whole process of unlearning all of these harmful systems is reminding ourselves that we can keep technology, we can keep all these things, but we have to remember the planet. We have to remember the climate. We have to remember all of the things that connect us to the one planet we know we can live on, and to each other by extension, right? Our connections are natural. And to take it to another direction, don't forsake internet connections because they're not natural, but understand that they are a virtual mycelium. They are a way for our minds to connect to each other across space in a way that helps us connect ideas and to move and to organize and to do stuff that no generations before us have ever had. I am, depending on how one counts it, a millennial. And I remember the days where there was no internet, right? And I grew up with the internet. So I've seen the pre and the post, and there's good things about both. We need both. You should be able to remember some people's fucking phone numbers and addresses. Hello, obviously you should commit some of those things to memory. However, it's great that you can keep a database of thousands of them in your pocket, including the collected knowledge of humankind. Both things are great, right? It's all tools. It's all how you use it. At any rate, we're going to end today's show by reminding everyone to connect, get connected, right? Connect in different places. There's lots of new ways to connect. Discord may go down. We're going to find out what they're going to do, right? But if you don't go to Discord, go to Matrix, right? Go to Stoat, go to communities. It's another new one, right? Go to signal groups, go to Delta Chat, right? And look, there's a lot of places. You can't be every place, but you don't need to be. The connections that you have is just like a quote in that piece by Warren. Critical connection instead of critical mass. That's what's important. Critical connection instead of critical mass. Our desire that is given to us by the overculture to be connected to everything. And what's the next big thing? And what's everybody talking about? That's not real. And that keeps us trapped. Critical connection. Who are you really connected to? Who you really care about? If that's 2 people, that's great. If that's 100 people, that's great too. But be authentic, right? We are the mycelium. We are the root structures underneath the ground that are pushing up these new ways of being. And that is built on our connections and basically nothing else. So connect in all the ways you can. And yes, of course, connect more in Meet Space as well. Connect more in all the ways that you can, because that is what is going to save us. We are going to save us with our connections, with our love, with our ability to understand that, hey, that bear that lives next door that occasionally shows up and just says hi, that's, at this point, maybe that's not a wild animal. Maybe that's just your neighbor. You don't have to be scared of them in the way that you think you do. Obviously, don't go, trying to pick up one of the cubs like, hey, please. But you wouldn't do that with your neighbor either, would you? Right? There's a lot of common sense involved in all this. I don't know. But at any rate, I want to say thank you to everyone who has been a part of today's show. Dick Swagger for returning, Alice Pope of Alice Pope Astrology for the always excellent astrological weather report, and of course to the most excellent Mistrix for helping me keep all of this together. And I want to also, of course, thank all of you. And I want to remind you to connect with us at the House of Infinity. Send us an email so that you can join up with us. And wherever we go, you can be connected to us. If you're a gamer, we have a gaming server. It's FOI Gaming at proton.me. You can join us to just kick it and play games in an environment that is not, hyper toxic, because hello, those environments were made that way. Thank you to the Epstein files for letting us know that it was on purpose that they made them that way. Connect with us. And also don't forget, tip your performers, support the people in your life who you know. Okay. Beyonce, who y'all need to look up Beyonce and Jay-Z and their connection potentially to those files. I warned y'all about them. That's all I'm going to say for now. But support the people in your life. Somebody who makes something, buy something from them. Somebody who does something, join a Patreon of your friends today. Ask somebody if they need something. It doesn't have to be money. Send them a card, sing them a song, do something. Just reach out. Because kindness is the engine that basically is the only thing that is going to destroy the way we've been taught to think that everything is bad, that everyone is bad. So your actions matter. The small ones matter the most. You can only fall on your sword one time, but you can do something good every single day that will make a difference. Much love, and we'll see you next time. Mistrix, take us out.